Hello everyone, welcome to Bible Bites. Our question for today is, should Christians support Antifa? Well, firstly, if you're watching this video in Australia, you might not have any clue whatsoever what Antifa is. However, if you're American, you will obviously have a very good idea what Antifa is and what Antifa stands for. Well, Antifa is the name given to a loosely organised set of activists who claim to oppose authoritarianism, racism, and right-leaning politics in America. And the word Antifa comes from a German word meaning anti-fascist. And Antifa's version of activism is distinguished mostly by a willingness, primarily anonymously, to engage in intimidation, denial of free speech, and violence. And Antifa members believe their tactics are necessary in order to oppose the so-called threat of conservative political views. And so, although being anti-fascist is noble in theory, Antifa's tactics are counterproductive and actually they're inherently oppressive. In fact, it could be argued that their actions actually represent political vigilantism. And clearly, when you look at scripture, it does not support Antifa's approach to politics or culture. Now, Antifa believes their cause is noble because they are resisting what they see as a threat to freedom caused by conservative politics. Voting, debate, dialogue, legal action, and other such courses of action are dismissed as inefficient and ineffective. Rather, Antifa believes the necessary response to perceived fascism is tangible physical action. And what that means is that they undertake physical harassment as part of their tactics. And so, unfortunately, it also promotes direct acts of violence against people and property, though its leaders frequently attempt to distance themselves from this element of the movement. Well, although Antifa prefers to use violence, rioting, and intimidation as its tools of political warfare, it also uses a process called deplatforming, particularly against those with whom they disagree. Any words, speakers, writers, events that fall outside of Antifa's preferred ideology are censored, they're cancelled, they're boycotted, or otherwise shut down and denied a voice. And so this deplatforming approach involves protesting, blockading, or literally shouting over unwanted expressions in order to nullify them. Therefore, at its core, deplatforming literally denies people the ability to express or explain their views, which is a fundamental right enshrined in many democratic laws. Well, another common tactic used by Antifa is doxing. And this refers to the act of deliberately revealing personal information about opponents. That is, phone numbers, home addresses, or other details. And so what this does, though, is that it leads to harassment of opponents through the use of threatening phone calls and, in some cases, the threat to cause violence to a person in their home. And therefore, the aim of doxing is to increase social pressure on the opponent in order to make them to conform to Antifa's ideology. Now, from a secular perspective, Antifa's tactics are hypocritical and actually self-defeating. In practice, Antifa merely replaces perceived government fascism with actual mob fascism. I use the term perceived because according to the definition, the US government would not currently be considered as fascist. Fascist ideology is a combination of unaccountable leadership, regimented adherence to certain ideas, and forcible suppression of dissent, heavily relying on fear and intimidation. Now, it's clear that the group that is fascist is actually the group who claims to be opposed to it. After all, any unofficial and anonymous group who violently harass, drown out, or destroy any person or business with whom they disagree is not resisting fascism, they're actually crowdsourcing it. The Christian worldview in no ways allows for rioting, predatory attacks, intimidation, or any other tactics associated with Antifa's methods. And while believers should always stand against racism and oppression, the methods actually used by Antifa are inherently contradictory to biblical Christianity, and I must say that no serious Christian should be supporting Antifa or its tactics.